Module 5, Visual Learners. Visual learners comprise about 65% of the population, or at least they used to. Now we are having a situation where with the electronic age, a lot of the children coming through our system now are kinesthetic, and you'll understand the problem that poses when we get to that section. How do visual learners learn? Well, the occipital lobes at the back of the brain manage the visual sense. We also use both the occipital and the parietal lobes for spatial orientation or positioning. This means that visual learners relate most effectively to written information, notes, diagrams, and pictures. Color and use of space is beneficial to the learning process. To access a visual memory, think of a concept. Now look up to the left, and often your picture will drop into your mind. In a class or a lecture, you can use this technique by creating pictures and images in your mind, and then try and build up to a motion picture in your mind. If you can use the other senses to learn, this will increase your recall dramatically. The movie technique is a type of learning which is all about using images. Use positive, pleasant images in your color that you like and add the other senses to them if possible. And try to make them three-dimensional with movement and space to make it more vivid. Use humor and symbols as well. The art of location works with keywords, lists, or processes. The location gives you a coherent context into which you can place information. This could be a walk through your house, for instance, where you'd put things to remember on the gate or on your front door, on the coat hook, and so on. The process also works if you have a series of steps to take in a function. You can always add another location to enhance the scope of the technique. So in my medical studies, I had my house as a walkthrough to remind me of patient techniques, and that was quite simple. As you come to the gate, I'd have to say, hello, get up and greet you, shaking a hand. As we walked up the driveway, I'd ask the person, how are they? Have they got anything which is bothering them? As they got into the house, I would then turn around and say to them, do they have any kind of high blood pressure? Sugar diabetes was on my coat hook, and so it went on through the house. My daughter's house was for infectious disease protocols. So it was putting on gloves, putting on a mask, sterilization, things like that. As I walked through the house, I would then remember the process that I had to do in order to pass the exam. My best friend's house I used for psychological protocols. And so it went on. And so you can add locations to each location in order to memorize a certain process. And this helps you a lot because when you're frantic, especially in an oral exam, where you get quite caught up in yourself and your brain just goes into mush and you sort of look at your brain and there's just a blank wall. And you can see the lecturer and you can see the blank wall, and that's basically it. If you remember which house you were in, you can normally find yourself, well, with not a lot of ease, but certainly with a minimum amount of embarrassment. Another process you can do with this is called linking. And this is where you actually put all your ideas into a set of dominoes. So when the one domino goes, all the dominoes go. And that also helps you to link ideas together. Possibly my favorite use is grids. And I used to be exceptionally good at this at one stage, but practice definitely was not one of the things that I did. So that your grid is a placement you can have from 1 till 10. We used to have 1 to 100, but 1 till 10 is very effective. Now you'll see the actual item that is linked to that number rhymes with it. That's just so that you can remember the item better. Now what you have to do is you have to put the item into the sun or into the bun for number 1. So you put the items in to the object or on the object or in some way that is quite humorous and that you can remember it. This is a very effective way of remembering names that have something like a meeting or at a social, because you can put John into a bun, Susie into a shoe, and so on and so forth. And then you can remember the names quite easily that was there because you just go through your process. I have given you a resource on this so that you can see just a few ideas to sort of knock around with, but you'll have to make your own images up on this one. Mind maps are probably the most used study skill in the world. What you do is you put your central concept in. You then use simple phrases, images, or words. You may want to link to two things, for instance. Let's say a nice little, don't mind my stick man. And I'm going to put a stick man to it, draw a painting on an easel. Okay, as I told you, don't mind my paintings, just to show you things to do. Now the printing is best for a mind map. Don't use cursive. Colors and textures, really good idea. So let's put some color on this guy. Should we make him a girl? Yep. And then we can have him painting. There's a tree. I'll never forget the mind map of my painting. Okay, when you want to put new information in it, you just add another piece to your mind map. And there you go. Okay, very simple, very easy. The split page method is a good way to write notes. What you do is you divide your page, about 5 centimeters or 2.5 inches for those of you still in the imperial age. And then you put your note-taking column over here, your keyword column over here, and you will put all your keywords going down, and then there will be a summary at the bottom of the page. So you'll just draw off about, not even a third, about a quarter of the page, and you put summary in it. It's a very good way of learning because you cover up your notes and you go via your keywords, and then you try and come back to the notes, your summary at the bottom, so that you can summarize what you've been doing while you were studying this material. You don't have to write in huge amount of details. It's more like point form. Again, I normally try and print because I can read my writing if I print, not if I do cursive. And you can even do this in class. As you're watching the lecturer or watching the video, just make the notes. Simple. Not so. So let's sum this up. At present, visual learners comprise the majority of the world's population, and that's the reason why most learning methods use this form. Most teaching methods also use this form. Reading and seeing the words, concepts, mind maps or diagrams is a key to the most effective method of learning for this group. If they can use the other senses to anchor the knowledge, it will further aid the recall process. Next group is the auditory group.